It takes an extraordinary kind of courage to stand apart in a world that thrives on conformity. From the moment we're born, we're tethered to an invisible thread, the need for approval. A nod, a smile, a fleeting glance of validation. They feel like oxygen. But what if you could breathe without it? What if you dared to cut that thread? Standing apart means rejecting the comfort of being liked, of fitting in. It's stepping into a space where you're no longer bound by the rules they never spoke aloud but always enforced. The moment you sever that need, something incredible happens. You find power in their disdain. Imagine the shock on their faces when you no longer flinch at their judgments, when their whispers and labels bounce off you like rain on stone. They'll call you arrogant, a villain even, because they can't fathom the freedom you've tasted. You've escaped their game, the endless cycle of pleasing, nodding, and blending in. To stand apart is to embrace discomfort. It's not about being cruel or dismissive. It's about owning your path so fully that their approval becomes irrelevant. In their eyes, you're a threat to the delicate balance they cling to. In yours, you're free, wild, untouchable, and finally alive. This isn't just rebellion, it's survival. The audacity to stand apart isn't a flaw. It's your superpower. People-pleasing feels harmless at first, even noble. You say yes to avoid conflict, nod along to keep the peace, and laugh at jokes that cut too deep just to fit in. But over time, it's like a slow-acting poison, numbing your voice, eroding your identity, and carving away pieces of your essence. Each time you bend to someone else's desires, you betray yourself a little more. It's subtle at first, like a crack in the foundation, but the cracks spread. Before long, you're a mirror reflecting everyone's expectations except your own. A puppet whose strings are pulled by the whims of others. And the twisted part, the cycle never ends. The more you give, the more they take. The more they take, the more you fade into the background of your own story. They thrive on your compliance, feeding their egos while you quietly resent the emptiness left behind. Breaking free isn't easy. It's terrifying. It means saying no when you've always said yes. It means letting people be uncomfortable with your boundaries, enduring their disappointment, their guilt trips, and their manipulation. But every no is a piece of yourself reclaimed. Every line you draw in the sand is a step closer to freedom. People-pleasing promises harmony, but it delivers chains. The moment you decide to stop twisting yourself into their mold, you start to live. It's not cruelty, it's survival, and it's long overdue. The world loves to remind you of your differences, framing them as flaws, weaknesses, or things to hide. They want you to believe that your scars, your struggles, your so-called limitations make you less. But what if those very things weren't chains but armor? What if they weren't weaknesses at all but the source of your power? In a world that thrives on sameness, your differences are your defiance. They unsettle people because they don't fit neatly into their narrow boxes. They expect you to apologize for who you are, to shrink yourself to match their expectations. But here's the secret. Those scars and struggles are your proof of survival. They show that you've endured, that you've risen even when the odds were stacked against you. The moment you stop hiding and start owning your differences, everything changes. Their judgments lose power, their pity, their exclusion. They crumble. You're no longer playing their game. Instead, you're showing them what strength really looks like. Standing tall in a world that wasn't built for you, refusing to flinch under their gaze. When you wear your identity as armor, the world's attempts to diminish you fall flat. You become untouchable, a force they can't ignore. Your differences are not your burden. They're your edge, your symbol of resilience in a sea of conformity. Never hide them. They're the very thing that makes you unstoppable. Purpose is a kind of freedom most people will never understand. It burns so fiercely inside you that the world's opinions, judgments, and whispers become nothing more than static in the background. When you discover that purpose, something greater than yourself, it liberates you from the exhausting need to be liked, to fit in, or to earn applause. The courage to be disliked doesn't come easy. We're conditioned to crave approval, to seek validation in every step we take. But what if you didn't need it? Imagine moving through life unshackled by the fear of judgment. Imagine letting their criticisms roll off you, not because they don't sting, but because they simply don't matter anymore. Rising above opinions means stepping onto a path that's yours alone. It's not about rebelling for the sake of it. It's about walking so boldly in your truth that their judgments become irrelevant. Yes, they'll talk. They'll call you arrogant, label you a villain, and twist your story into something it's not. But that's just noise. It's what happens when you refuse to conform. Purpose consumes you in the best way. It becomes your guiding light, making their approval obsolete. The moment you embrace that, you're no longer bound by their expectations. You're free, fearless in the face of their disdain, and unstoppable in your pursuit of what truly matters. This is the courage to live, not for them, but for yourself. There's a quiet power in walking a path only you can see. It's not about loneliness, but about solitude, a deliberate choice to step away from the noise of the crowd and into your own strength. When you stop seeking their approval, something remarkable happens. You become untouchable. The world thrives on control, on molding you to fit its expectations. It whispers rules about who you should be and how you should act, hoping you'll fall in line. But when you refuse to play their game, you shatter the illusion. They can't control what they can't predict, and you become a mystery, a force they don't know how to handle. This path isn't for the faint-hearted. It means enduring the discomfort of their judgments, the sting of their labels. They'll call you arrogant, cold, even dangerous, because they can't comprehend how someone can exist outside their narrative. But here's the truth. Their opinions are powerless when you've built a life grounded in your own convictions. Walking this path means embracing your independence, trusting your instincts, and staying rooted in your purpose. It's not about pushing people away, it's about choosing strength over conformity. You don't need their validation to move forward. The more they try to pull you back, the stronger your resolve becomes. To become untouchable is to live unapologetically on your terms, leaving their control in ruins. It's freedom in its purest, boldest form.